So I have had depression and wrestled on and off with it for a long time, and I have waged a pretty steady war against it on one hand. I've tried all the different medications. I continue to take medication. I work very hard on exercising and meditating and eating right and connecting to others and doing all the things that I know are good for depression. So I've sort of got this sort of constant ongoing effort against depression. And yet at the same time, I tend to treat individual bouts of depression with a great deal of acceptance. If you've listened to the show for long, you've probably heard me talk about treating it like it's the emotional flu. So it's a little bit of a paradox because I am fighting it on one hand, and at the other hand, I'm accepting it. I think what I'm doing is I'm accepting it when it comes because I don't know that there's a whole lot I can do about it right in that moment exactly. I'll look at what's going on with me and I'll say, oh, have I been exercising or what have I been doing or not been doing, and try and get back to those things. But then there's a sort of acceptance like, oh, here it is again, and I'm just going to have to ride it out for a while. That's why I call it like the flu. When you get sick, you feel miserable for a while, but you know it's going to get better. And you don't tend to give it a lot of existential significance beyond the fact that you're sick. Whereas with depression, if we deal with it cyclically, like I do, if you're not careful, every time it comes up becomes a time to reevaluate the course of your entire life and spiral into an existential crisis. And so I try and more relax with that and go, okay, I've got the emotional flu. I know it's going to get better. Let me take care of myself like I would if I'm sick. So taking care of myself means exercising and eating well and resting and, talking to friends and doing all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to make a big fuss about it. So I'm accepting it in that sense. But I don't accept it as a long-term, like there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm sort of doing a little bit of both. And I think the Serenity Prayer turns out to, more often than not, be a great answer to nearly anything, which is that, I accept, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So I can't change that I'm in a depressed spot at that point. The courage to change the things I can. So in general, I'm working to change what I can. I'm working to do the self-care things. I'm taking the medication. I'm doing what I can do. And then the wisdom to know the difference. And for me, that wisdom to know the difference is the difference between when to fight it and when to accept it. It sort of feels like, this probably isn't a real apt analogy, but I think I've got a long-term sort of war going on against depression, but I don't jump into every battle that shows up. I really try and pick the battles that make the most sense for me and approach them that way. So that's a pretty quick thought on depression, whether to fight it or accept it, and I think the answer is both.